Right, early March, officially spring. Definitely not springtime temperatures. Just having a quick look at the Phoenix Canariensis here. So in general, for such an up and down winter, we've had a lot of mild weather, but we've had a couple of obviously quite nasty Arctic blasts, and we have got some damage on the leaves. We've got some browns on some of the older leaves, and even the newer leaves, some of them aren't looking quite as green. We have got some brown on them as well, so that's going to be a while for that to grow out. Obviously the leaves don't recover once they're brown, but overall in general it's you know, it's a big plant. It still looks quite nice. I will be cutting some of the lower fronds off when the spring kicks in properly. But to get to the point of the video, we're looking at potted plants, and the scenario is you've just bought a plant, a hardy plant, and you think, well, it's hardy, I can plant it out any time of year. And in fairness, that'd be your choice, you can do that. And I've got a lot of hardy plants here which I've brought through over the winter, and some I've sort of had out and moved about, whatnot. The point is, even though something is hardy, the question you've got to ask yourself is, what are you going to gain by putting it in the ground early in the season? Well, so you've got to weigh it up really. It depends on the area you live in, and I'll give you an example of some of the plants we've got. So we've got a hybrid Trachycarpus, we've got a rhododendron, we've got some pseudopanics, and some other hardy palms here, some sables and some hellebores. So most of these are sort of new purchases over winter. Some are from last year which I didn't get round to planting up, like the Fatsias here. So we've got a variegated and a green fingers, and some small potted ferns as well. So the point is, we've got a cluster of pots. They've been out most of the winter. You think, well, if they're hardy and you've got them in pots, why haven't you got them in the ground? Well, pots, even though we all know stuff is not really as hardy in pots as it is in the ground, because you know the risk of a pot freezing through. But the advantage of being in a pot is far better drainage. So, and we've learnt that from the Chamaerops in the garden, whereas like the Cerifera that's spear pulled, very, very hardy palm, Chamaerops cerifera, but because it's been so damp, the damp got it rather than the cold. So it's a combination of cold and damp, but that damp will drastically decrease the hardiness. So something in a pot is obviously going to dry out quicker and be far less sort of waterlogged than the ground is. So in that sense, stuff will stay drier. So that gives you the advantage of being in the ground. The other advantage of being in a pot, obviously, you get this Arctic blast situation like we've had a couple, and you can just pick up the pot, put it in a garage, shed, greenhouse, whatever, bring it into the house for a short period just over the worst of the weather. So the advantages are you can move them about, they're better draining, and you can cluster them, and they're still getting natural sunlight. So especially in the case of palms, you're not, you know, if you bring them in or have them sheltered in a shed garage situation, they can really burn up when you get them outside again, unless you acclimatise them properly. So my thoughts are, you know, up to the individual. You can pot stuff up, you know, and I see this a lot on some of the Facebook groups. People say, oh, I've just brought this, is it safe to plant out now? Well, the fact that you're asking the question makes you think, well, what is your scenario? What have you got to gain by planting it out? Once you've planted it up in the garden, out of your pot, it's not really this time of year, so we are in very early March. and it's quite cool. You put that plant in the ground, and what is the gain? It's not going to grow. The night time temperatures are still very cold, and even though it's a hardy plant, you're not going to gain anything from putting it in the ground. And again, for the reason of it's not going to grow any quicker in the ground than it is in the pot at this time of year, until the ground warms up, which takes a lot longer than if you had something in the pot and that warms up during the day in the sun. You're going to get growth from that anytime it's sunny. But if it's in the ground, the roots are going to be cold, they're not going to establish any quicker. It's far better to wait until the ground's warmed up a little bit and then get that plant in the ground. And the second advantage to that is, being so early in the year, you start planting stuff up, and I've done this before as well. You've already got plants, you know, perennials that die back over winter, and you tend to forget about them unless you're really clever and marked everywhere up where you've got plants. You could be digging something out or potentially planting a new plant on top of an old plant and killing the old plant. So that delay will, you know, you could possibly find the wrong spot for the new plant, or like I say, potentially kill a plant you've already got because you forgot about it. So again, weigh up your situation. What have you got to gain by planting out early? In reality, you've got nothing to gain. Yeah, the job's done and dusted, and maybe if you're on a tight time schedule, if you've got work or something and you have to get it done in that time frame, then that's you know, your own scenario, that's your situation. But in general, far better to wait, and you know, maybe middle to end of March, April, when things have warmed up, the ground's warmed up, you can get that plant in the ground. You know that other stuff started to grow, so you're not going to be killing anything by disturbing or planting something on top of it. And also, the ground's warmed up, that plant from the pot is going to go straight in the ground, and as long as you keep it watered well, that's going to start growing for you straight away. So again, nothing to be gained by planting stuff out too early. They're not going to grow any quicker for you. In fact, they'll grow slower, because as stated, pots will warm up a lot quicker when the sun's out than the ground will. Right, so we'll leave it there. So that's my thoughts on the subject. I'm not telling anyone what to do, but I'm giving you a reason, and I think a fairly valid reason, why not to put your plants out. Just the flexibility of moving them about, bringing them in a snow or frost situation, you know, that's invaluable. You don't want to spend a lot of money on a new plant, get excited about it, stick it straight in the ground, and then you get a unseasonable cold patch, and you know, you've set at worst you set the plant back, stroke killed it. At very best, you haven't achieved any more growth. That's just sitting there dormant. Right, let's leave it there. Thanks for watching.